All right, everybody, happy Thursday. Welcome in Section 1904. Do want to say a quick thank you right out of the gate for those that were listening yesterday, those that chimed in and sent text messages late into the afternoon into the evening updating me on what it was that was happening with Ethan Salas. That Ethan Salas in his minor league game, after much discussion on yesterday's Section 1904 podcast with John Connor from madfires.com, we got into the subject of whether or not offense even matters for Ethan Salas's future, his big league future, should he actually ascend to the big league level, which I guess is still an if. I don't know that I would say it's a when. I would say it's still an if, more an if than a when, but I think we'll probably expect to see Ethan Salas over the next couple of years. One of the top prospects in the Padres system. Thank you for all the box scores that were sent my way last night, letting me know that Ethan Salas against the Corpus Christi Hooks went 3 for 5 with a couple of runs batted in and a stolen base. On the season, Salas is batting .250 with a .235 on base percentage. Pop quiz, John. How does somebody have a higher batting average than an on base percentage? Go.
Sacrifice flies.
Boom. Look
Yes.
at you. Look at you. One sack fly. That's right. Counts as a plate appearance. Does not count as an at bat. So there you go.
Yeah.
But thank you. I appreciated that. Appreciated the updates on Ethan Salas. I actually read the report this morning. I do love some minor league baseball. Let me
It's
just
been
read
too
you.
long since I've been to a minor league game. It really has been.
Well, we should go.
Let's go.
As a matter of fact, after we recorded yesterday, we got a couple of invites to go and join the crew from Mad Friars at a Lake Elsinore game, which is like right around the corner from you.
Yeah, count me in.
Take me about 2 days to get there, but it's right around the corner from
And
you.
2 days to get back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even sure I can do that on one tank of gas. Can I just read a paragraph from the game story at minorleaguebaseball.com?
Yeah.
And then we'll get on our way here on this Thursday. After his struggles in the first, let me move forward. The Missions batted around thanks to 7 hits that led to 4 runs, none bigger than a mammoth opposite field 3-run homer from Sanabria. Suddenly, the Missions led 5-3. The Honey Butter Chicken Biscuits fought back against reliever Stephen Jones as Colin Barber knocked in a run with a single to make it 5-4. The Honey Butter Chicken Biscuits fought back. Is that the name of the team?
Which team? I'm assuming this is one of those like minor league promotional things where they change the team name and logo for like a couple. And like I happen to know, because I'm a fat guy who has spent time in Texas, that the Honey Butter Chicken Biscuit is a very popular food menu at Whataburger. So I imagine this is part of a Whataburger sponsorship thing. But I don't know, was that the Missions or was that the Corpus Christi Hooks that was the Honey Butter Chicken Biscuits?
I think it was the Corpus Christi Hooks, right. I think you're right about this. Let me go to a different paragraph. For the second straight night, Luis Castro led off the game for Corpus Christi with a home run, joined by Ryan Johnson, who mashed a 2-run homer off Missions starter Victor Lizarraga. I'm sorry. Putting the Honey Butter Chicken Biscuits up 3-0 after 1 inning.
I love that shit.
That is good. That is really, really quality stuff there. The Honey Butter Chicken Biscuits up 3-0. I did not know that. Sometimes you just read this and it's in a vacuum and you have no concept of what it is. You're just like, oh, okay. Got it. Anyhow, appreciated that yesterday. If you missed it, I know there was a Padre Day game. We actually dropped the podcast during the game while I raced off and watched some Champions League soccer to watch Barcelona go up 4-0 on Borussia Dortmund. John did put the podcast out there, and John Conniff was our guest and talked a little bit about Ethan Salas, talked a little bit about the system, about the turnover for the system. So if you missed that or any of the Section 1904 podcasts, you can always find them on our social media channels. You can also go to the website, section1904.com.
I just want to clean up a little bit. John Conniff actually texted me last night. Either someone had told him or he went back and he listened. Because after the interview, I said that what he had said about Jackson Merrill gave me concern, made me wonder if maybe Jackson Merrill has an injury problem, injury history, is injury prone, and we didn't know it. And he explained that, no, that's actually not the case. It's just that when scouts were looking at the Padres minor league system, to see who they might want in a potential Juan Soto trade, Merrill was coming back from a broken wrist and then pulled a hamstring while coming back. And so the scouts were asking, is this guy ever going to play? Because he hadn't played for a little while and they were eager to see him. And that's all. So the whole me freaking out, going like, is Merrill secretly injury prone and we didn't know it? In fact, not the case. Just me not doing a great job of listening. And John, who I was like, that's on me. I misunderstood you. And he's like, no, that's on me. I did a poor job of explaining. So blame either John. Just don't
I blame
attribute a last
John.
name. Yeah,
That's
blame John.
exactly what I'm going to do. Since I'm the one person in the conversation not named John, I'm just
Yeah,
going to blame John for the misunderstanding and say that John should just be better in the future.
yeah.
And from there we'll move forward. But it's a good day. Padres off day. Padres are 10-3 for what that's worth. I know I said the other day I wasn't going to pay a ton of attention to the standings, but I can't help but scroll through social media and have somebody point out that this is the best record in baseball today on the 10th day of April. I just talked about SDFC. I'm on my way to go watch them play. Watched FC Barcelona play yesterday. So the vibes are pretty good here, John. Vibes are pretty good. How are you doing after your emotional night of Luka Doncic getting back and playing in the purple and gold with the LA Lakers against the Dallas Mavericks? How are you doing? Did you get some sleep last night? Was that a little bit of closure for you since it was closure for Luka?
How do you
Okay.
how do you have closure? He's 25. He's going to be dominating you and embarrassing you for at least the next 10 years. There is no closure. Like, I saw so many people say this felt like a farewell tour. Like Luka was a veteran who, like, Klay Thompson going back to Golden State for the first time, and the Warriors going, "Thank you for everything, Klay. We knew you had to leave, and good luck in your last couple years before you hit retirement. You're always welcome back here." But that's not what this was. The Mavericks not only traded him away, not only afterwards tried to explain it by saying that he couldn't get in shape and he wasn't the type of player who could lead a team to a championship, then their marketing department covered up his face in every video that they posted online or in the stadium with a Mavericks logo because they were so afraid of people seeing Luka Doncic's face. And then he comes back and they give everyone a shirt that I think says thank you in Slovenian. I don't speak Slovenian. I didn't figure out what the translation was. And then they play this really emotional video being like, thank you, Luka. Thank you for everything. We love you. We'll always love you. And it felt like the Mavericks trying to get back on the good side of the fans, going like, okay, shitting on him and calling him fat and saying that he's a bad leader and he drank too much. That didn't work. That didn't get the fans on our side. So we'll join them over here where we just go, thank you, Luka. We love you, Luka. Thank you for everything, Luka. And meanwhile, all the fans are sitting here going like, you idiots. You're the ones who traded him. We knew it was a bad trade at the time, and you did it anyway, and you can't reverse it by just saying thank you, and he's going to spend the next 10 years torching their ass. I think it meant something to the fans to see Luka crying during that video being played in the introductions, because that was a signal that he wasn't just like, okay, fuck Dallas, fuck the fans, fuck the team, fuck everything. I'm a Laker, and that's it. I don't care
Right.
about any of that. That said, that those years, that time growing up in the organization really meant something to him. I was not shocked that Dirk Nowitzki was there, that he actually brought his family with him this time to support Luka. I think that relationship was maybe the most important thing that Luka got in Dallas. But it was just so see-through and pathetic by the Mavericks. And then I sent you a video this morning that the whole crowd, first of all, tons of people wearing Luka Doncic Lakers jerseys in Dallas, which should tell you, and maybe we can talk about the Marcus Thompson write up on The Athletic about this, should tell you that a lot of these Mavericks fans have just become Lakers fans once Luka was traded.
Yeah.
And then there was loud, loud, loud fire Nico chants. And I sent you a video someone took of Mark Cuban, literal head in hands in the crowd while everyone's cheering fire Nico, just frustrated out of his mind. And just a continuation of what we talked about yesterday, where he thought that he still had control of the team, and it turned out he didn't, and it's obviously eating him up inside.
But he still has those sweet courtside seats. So,
Yeah.
Mark Cuban has not lost his prime placement there at American Airlines Arena. Is that the name
American
of it?
Airlines Center.
Whatever. Okay. So good enough. He still has those prime seats right there on the baseline. Can you, I actually challenged you on this. So let me see what you came up with. Can you, for somebody that's listening to this going, I don't care about the Dallas Mavericks. Can you try to put this in the Padres terms?
So I tried to do this when the trade happened, and I think what I said is like, this is if the Padres had traded Tony Gwynn when he was like 25 years old, and gotten back nothing for him, or very mediocre, or gotten back some sort of veteran. Actually, I think what I said was it's trading Tony Gwynn for like the last year of Michael Jack Schmidt from the Phillies. I think that timeline actually matched up. And I was like, if you had traded like 23, 24-year-old Tony Gwynn for like 36-year-old Michael Jack Schmidt, that's what it would have felt like. But it's almost like the Dave Winfield thing almost makes more sense, because by the time Dave
Ah,
was like 27, 28, it was pretty obvious he was going to be a Hall of Famer. He was a
mhm.
really good player. He was a year or two away from free agency. They hung on. He went to free agency. He signed with the Yankees. But and I know this wasn't really done back then, but if like 2 years before free agency or a year and a half before free agency, the Padres were just like, hey, we know he's going to end up on the Yankees anyway, so we'll just trade him there, and we'll take back some aging veteran player who's good now and will maybe keep us good for the next year or two out of fear of losing him. That's probably more comparable. But it's hard because, like, who trades a 25, 26-year-old player that is already a future Hall of Famer? Like, it just doesn't happen. Like, I saw a stat where Luka is the first NBA player in history to score 45 points in a game for and against the same team in the same season. So he scored 45 points for the Mavericks and
Huh.
against the Mavericks
It's a
in
good
the same
stat.
season. First player to ever do that. You want to know why? Because players that score 45 points a game aren't usually traded in the middle of the season.
Right, and if so, you just ship them to a different conference, so
Yeah,
you hopefully don't have to deal with that thing again. I
exactly.
don't know that. See, I think it's almost an impossible ask for you to try to put this into Padres terms, because as you're talking about Winfield, I'm thinking about some of the stuff that I've heard about Dave Winfield over the years, which was like he was begging out of here, like he
Yeah,
didn't want to be in San Diego,
yeah,
like he had these. I don't have the quote right in front of me, but to paraphrase, he said something about, listen, like I'm a diamond here. Like, what am I doing in this place? I deserve to be in a bigger place than this. This is too small for me and
yeah,
somebody of my skills and my ability. And that's from people that I used to work with who played with Dave Winfield. It was like he was begging to get out of San Diego. He just didn't want anything to do with it. That's why you have a lot of old school Padre fans who are like kind of offended that number is even retired. But whatever, he
sure.
got paid for it. I mean, that's as the story goes. He got paid
Yeah,
good money to retire as a Padre, and those were the days where you got to choose exactly which cap it was that you wore into the Hall of Fame. So, he made a couple of bucks and whatever. I mean, it's almost like it has to be a hypothetical because it's so
nothing
ridiculous to
compares.
think about trading a player like this.
Yeah,
I mean, I saw even some questions on social media last night about well, why is the crowd in Dallas acting this way? Why is the crowd why are they giving him a standing ovation? Like maybe it was enough just to say, "Hey, we love you. Thank you for everything. You took the team to a NBA championship. Here's a video for a couple of minutes." Kind of like what we saw with Jurickson Profar, I suppose. Not that Profar's the same player or had the same impact on the Padres, let's say, that Luka Doncic did, arriving as a 19-year-old. But we at least saw the recognition, right? And the appreciation that the Padre fans had at Petco Park on opening day for Jerks and Profar. And then it was on to the business,
yeah,
and then at the end of the game, after Doncic completely torches the Lakers, even then it's still like, oh, we still love him. And I understand some people would look at that and go, I don't get it. Like he's killing the team that you claim to be a fan of. Where is your loyalty in all of this? And that's something I think people sort of struggled to process and tried to understand like why it was even after, okay, you're back, we wouldn't have traded you, let us shower you with a little bit of love, we appreciate you, but now it's out of the game. And at the end of the day, we're Mavericks fans. But I guess one of the takeaways for a lot of people was, are these people Mavericks fans or are they Luka Doncic fans? And that's like a more modern way of looking at sports. I do think that's a real thing. um Let me you mentioned Marcus Thompson II, who writes for The Athletic. Where's the line that stood out to me? Because I think that this is a modern development in sports.
I have one.
Here it
I
is.
have one right.
The
Go
Mavericks
ahead.
fan base for 2 months now, and Doncic reminded us Wednesday of the emotion and connectivity undergirding all of this. In the NBA, where allegiance can be as much to players as to teams, nearly as important as winning is who wins. The process of building a championship is what gives hoisting the trophy its sensation. And in between championship runs, which for most followers are rare, a large part of the appeal is the relationship between the fans and the players, especially superstars. Mavs fans love Doncic. Doncic loves Dallas. Families greater than flaws. what the Mavericks franchise lost sight of was how a title led by Doncic is a significantly more meaningful title. That's a really interesting couple of sentences because I think it speaks to Dallas, John, and I also think it speaks to more modern fandom that to me isn't exclusive to the NBA.
Okay, if I'm taking a positive from Luka Doncic getting traded to the Lakers from the Mavericks, it's that it has really crystallized what matters to fans, right? And like I remember after the trade happened, before Anthony Davis got hurt, before Kyrie Irving got hurt, there was a group of people, some people that I really respect that are really smart that are like, you know what? The Mavericks are better now to and in the short term to win an NBA championship. They've improved their defense. They built a really great team that's not focused on Luka Doncic. And I remember my wife saying, "I don't know who any of these players are." A lot of these players either came in last year or came in during the offseason. And she was like, if it's going to be a championship for the Dallas Mavericks, but none of these players have been here for longer than a year and a half, what do I care? I don't know who these people are. And this was the couple lines from the Marcus Thompson article that I wanted to highlight because I thought that it captured that. Setting aside the highly questionable logic that Doncic could ever deliver a title, the display the basketball world witnessed in Dallas was a population that prefers its superstar over a championship. The fans gave the impression that they would rather go through the next decade riding with Doncic as he tries to get it done than to capture one without him. Of the NBA's 30 teams, 18 have one or no championships in their franchise history. And for most fan bases, it's about memories and moments. It's about falling in love with a talent, a personality, a style of play, and watching it blossom. It's about taking on the powerhouse franchises. It's about riding with your guys, especially in the face of the franchise who orchestrates so much of what makes NBA fandom special.
Hmm.
I love that. The idea that we have crystallized, it's not the Jerry Seinfeld we're rooting for laundry. And for someone like me who doesn't live in Dallas and has never lived in Dallas, it's not even about supporting the hometown. Like when the Chargers became the LA Chargers, I'm like, they don't support my hometown anymore. That was a big reason for me. But the narratives, the stories, the guys you get to know that you've spent years rooting for and watching them develop, that's what you want to see win a championship. If the Padres traded everyone on the team in the next year and built a team that won a championship uh, with all of these new guys, I feel like there'd be, kind of a similar thought where everyone would sit around and go like, yeah, okay, they built a team, but like, and baseball's different. They play a lot more games. Stories happen over the course of a season because it's a longer season, but I still think it would just feel hollow without watching it kind of from start to finish and to build and with all the stories and everything you get to tie to it.
Yeah, as I'm thinking about this and as I'm listening to you, I'm guessing, you're trying to think like Doncic is such a popular player. And I know better than to say that social media followings are the be all end all. I mean, it's an indicator. It's one of like 20
Yeah.
indicators that some of these teams use. But just for a reference point here, just because I took the time to look it up, the Dallas Mavericks on Instagram have 4.6 million followers on Instagram.
He's got
Luka
way more than
Doncic has 10.5 million.
yeah.
Right, that's a lot. Let's look at the most popular Padre player, who it won't take you long to guess is Fernando Tatis Jr. Fernando Tatis Jr. Far and away has more social. Well, let me go. Let me give you LeBron as an example because I think LeBron in the NBA has sort of started this, where people started following LeBron from Cleveland to Miami, back to Cleveland, and now to Los Angeles. LeBron James has 159 million followers on Instagram. The LA Lakers have 25.2. That's a
Holy
lot, right?
shit.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's really a lot. Um, the Padres have 1.4 million followers on Instagram. Fernando Tatis Jr. is their most popular player on social media with 1.9 million. If Fernando Tatis Jr. got traded, and it's hypothetical. I understand he's got a no trade clause, so we don't need
Yeah.
to be, well actually on this. But, if he were to get traded, I wonder how many fans here would just say, I'm a Fernando Tatis Jr. fan. You know what I mean? Like how many people is he responsible for bringing into the newer era of Major League Baseball? And how many people would say, no, sorry, he's a member of the Guardians now. So, that to me, all I care about are the players who put on a Padre uniform. I don't care about somebody who used to put on a Padre uniform. I don't have time in my day. That's not what I'm here for. And how many people would say, yeah, that's a really, really popular player. And Fernando Tatis Jr., I will always be a Fernando Tatis Jr. fan. And I will follow my fandom will follow Fernando Tatis Jr. to a different place. Does this make sense? Like LeBron
Yes.
is one of those kind of guys. A lot of people ask me for years, what are you going to do when Lionel Messi leaves Barcelona? And I said, well, I don't know. I'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched Inter Miami play last night on Wednesday, and I had no real feeling. Like I had no real emotion. If anything, I was kind of rooting for LA for a weird reason that I won't get into. Just I have some friends who work there, and
Yeah.
I don't need the whole league to be wrapped around Lionel Messi, but whatever. They were playing in a CONCACAF Champions Cup last night. And, I'm happy for Messi. I'm happy that he's happy, seemingly happy, and performing at a level that's below the level where I saw him play, but he seems to be having fun and he's with his former teammates, so whatever. But like Messi's another great example. Here's a guy who's got 504 million Instagram followers. FC Barcelona, one of the biggest soccer clubs, one of the biggest sports teams on planet Earth, has like 150, 140. So the point is and maybe it's just a social media thing in sports and athletics today. That like I understand that sometimes the player is the reason for the popularity. I don't know that I'm wired that way. I'm still a little more old school. When people ask me about Messi leaving Barcelona, I said I'll have to wait and see. And now that he's gone, I'm still much more an FC Barcelona fan than I am a Messi fan. But it seems like this is more and more the subject when it comes to athletes and teams and sports, right? Like Cristiano Ronaldo's he's the most popular person on Instagram apparently. And people just follow him from team to team to team to the point where they will follow him to fucking Saudi Arabia, where he's currently playing, because I see Cristiano Ronaldo shirts, Saudi Arabian soccer shirts with Cristiano Ronaldo's name and number in San Diego. I see that stuff in San Diego and I go, what attachment do any of these people have to Saudi Arabia?
Right.
None. They're not Saudi Arabian, but they're Cristiano Ronaldo fans, which is kind of crazy. And again, I guess this is all just a long-winded way of saying, sports and fandom has changed to a certain extent, not for everybody, but for a lot of people.
Yeah, the better comparison, you had me try and make it a Padres comparison, but the better comparison might actually be Messi if when he was 24, 25 years old and already easily the best soccer player on earth, if not the best soccer player ever, if FC Barcelona had sold him to Man U or something like that, or to a Saudi Arabian club. But yeah, because that's the level that Luka is at, and that's the level of player that you don't trade. Like it's just you don't trade that level of player. And Nico Harrison for the rest of his life is gonna be told that and be living that reminder.
Yeah, I mean, do you think, like again, no trade clause, just, let's overlook that here for the purposes of the conversation. Like, you know, would people be Tatis fans, or is
Okay,
just baseball different?
I
Like Marcus Thompson the second points out that NBA is different. And what he's saying, where allegiance can be as much to players as to teams. That's a direct quote. He does say that in the NBA, where allegiance can be as much to players as teams, nearly important as winning is who wins. Do you think there's any of that in baseball? I know there's none in the NFL, so I'm not even going to bother with
right.
that. Right? I mean, maybe Peyton Manning had a little bit from his Tennessee Volunteer fan base that took him from Indianapolis to Denver, but the NFL, they don't give a shit about that at all. Like
Right.
not at all. And like there's no hard feelings about beating your former team, right? Like you always hear it in soccer when a guy scores against his former team, he always puts his hands up. He's not going to celebrate the goal. Not going to celebrate the goal. I'm going to show respect for the fans,
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. I would imagine there was a little bit of that at Luka, right? Just given his upbringing, giving where he's from, giving that
Yeah.
he literally played for Real Madrid's basketball team, that there's a little bit of that to him. I don't know that he was like demonstrative towards the fans, like, being all, crazy with them. He was not. It was a love affair. It was like a love fest. Sometimes, our sports are a little bit different in the US than the way they are wired somewhere around the
Yeah.
world. But, I guess maybe there is a point to that it is an NBA thing. I don't know that is a baseball thing per se.
So this is interesting, and maybe we can talk about this Rob Manfred Q&A I sent you this morning from the New York Times a couple days ago because it ties into this. I think if the Padres traded Fernando Tatis Jr. right now, he's a interesting case because he's been suspended for the PEDs and he's hurt all the time. And I think there would be most of the fans would be like, okay, I get it. He's got baggage. You got out before, maybe he becomes a real problem with the injuries, and maybe they know something about PED usage. Like you could attribute that to something.
Sure.
With Luka, the whole like, oh, he's out of shape. He fights with the refs. Like everyone's like, yeah, but he literally dragged your team to the finals 2 out of the last 3 years. Like you
Mhm.
can't say you can't win with him.
Right.
But the argument of you can't win a World Series with someone like Fernando Tatis Jr. being your best player is an argument that has some level of merit to it. So I think people would talk themselves into that. However, I think a big reason Fernando Tatis Jr. is the guy that you targeted as he brought a lot of Padres fans in to
Mhm.
this team is not just because like when he showed up they got good. It's because and this Rob Manfred Q&A was really interesting. He was talking about fans love athletic plays. And baseball had gotten to this point where it was so athletic and everything was a walk, a strikeout, or a home run, and there was no athletic plays being made, or at least not enough to capture the imagination and the interest of baseball fans. And Fernando Tatis Jr. is nothing but athletic plays. Like he's got the cannon arm, he makes the diving catches, he hits impossible home runs, and
He
and and,
just and
and,
he looks good doing
and he
it,
looks
right?
good
Like he just
doing it.
looks good. He slides his hair, like he just shakes his hair, his shirt when he takes it. Just
So he
he's
might
everything.
he might be the type of player that fans would follow around because they're just like, hey, 95% of baseball players don't give me this. I can't get this from, Tirso Ornelas coming in and playing right field. Even if the stats are good, he's
Right.
probably not going to be doing those types of things.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they got good and they got popular, and the Padres got, Padres were cool. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of that had to do with Fernando Tatis Jr. Now, again, that's not something everybody's going to care about, and I certainly can understand it. But when you're trying to, and you're in the business of marketing, and you're in the business of, um, trying to give fans, not just a product that's on the field, but you're trying to give them something, that they take with them, right? That they very much feel attached to and they feel connected to, then I think that's something that's exactly what it is that we saw. That's a snapshot about fandom,
Yeah.
not just in the NBA, but I think in certain pockets as well. Again, I don't think it's an NFL thing at all. I mean, I don't. Saquon Barkley leaving the Giants and going to the Philadelphia Eagles. I
Yeah,
don't
I haven't
know.
seen it like ever. I mean,
Forget
we
about
we had
college sports. These guys are changing teams every single season
Darren,
now,
we
and I
had
can't
we
keep up
had
with the transfer stuff.
we had LaDainian Tomlinson leave the Chargers for the Jets, not really at his pinnacle, but shortly thereafter. And I remember a lot of Charger fans going like, I'm done with the Chargers after this. I'm just going to root for Tomlinson on the Jets. And then the next year would come around and they'd be like, you know
Yeah,
what? He's going to be gone off the Jets in a year or two. I'll just stay with the Chargers.
and there was a little bit of I will only follow the Chargers in Los Angeles while Philip Rivers and Antonio Gates are on the team. There was a
Right.
little bit of that,
But that's the
right?
narrative thing that I was talking about. Like they like players. They like the story of I've been watching this guy for 10 years. I know his development. I know what I can imagine what he's thinking in certain situations and stuff like that. And I think there was just like I'm not giving up the narratives and the stories that are important to me just because the team is in a different location. Which is good. Like I think it's good for people to admit that what they like about sports is the stories and not the wins.
All right. Well, hey, the Padres are 10-3. Just a get it done kind of win during the day yesterday. They'll be back home. Anybody who's tuning in and listening here, and if you're new to what it is that John and I are doing, this is called Section 1904. We do have a website. We don't have a YouTube channel. Apparently, we're the only people in San Diego who are, who are launching something who are not on YouTube, John. I don't know how you feel about that, but apparently we're just going to be the lone people out there in this space not putting ourselves on YouTube every day. Do you have
I
any second thoughts about our decision making in this, seeing everybody else jumping on YouTube channels?
No, because we've told people that we might change that in the future. B, there was a story last week. I've been screaming for a year that YouTube numbers are fake, that there's no way they're real. There was a story last week where like Google or YouTube came out and they were like, yeah, we're saying these are video views, but sometimes there's just people scrolling past them and we're counting it. And I
Is
was
that
like,
right?
see, yeah, they, they,
Yeah.
they, they admitted it. And so like once they admitted it, everyone was like, so we don't know what counts for a view anymore. We're getting paid off these, right? Like, I think the whole people are seeing numbers and they're like getting excited. And I think this is like Facebook, paying out for video and people pivoting to video, and then Facebook being like, actually, these video views are a little fake, and then everyone freaking out and laying off everybody. So,
Well,
no,
it's certainly not slowing anybody down from
I
going
know.
out there and launching their own YouTube shows.
I know. Well, hey, we'll pick up what they're dropping behind, which is the people that want to listen in their car or while they're working out or at the gym or while they're doing chores or dishes or whatever. We're firmly in the podcasting space, at least for now. Maybe we'll do
Yeah,
video at
and
some
listen,
point.
I think there's a reason for that too. I mean, listen, some of the all the radio shows now are on YouTube, right?
I think so.
So, I think if you wake up in the morning and you flip on Ben and Woods on YouTube, I think that that's probably a logical thing if you're getting
Yeah.
ready, getting the kids ready for work and all that sort of stuff. The middle of the day thing, I don't know. But again, we'll see. Let's see. I'm sure there's lots of people that would offer us career advice that us not doing video is potentially something that will be
Actually,
will limit us in our ability to be successful in this venture.
and
I have got such a good idea, and I'm just too chicken shit to say it about a couple of people who I think should collaborate on a YouTube show, but
I know exactly what you
I
want to say,
can't.
and
I just can't say
I
it though.
want
I
to say it
can't.
too. I want to say it. I also won't.
I can't say it, but I think I know a way that I could really, man. If people could ever just settle some of their differences, man,
It might be entertaining. No,
it might be.
it's funny because after John Conniff sent me the text last
I
night,
even
kind
have
of,
a name for that show, by the way.
oh, tell me after we're done. John Conniff sent me the thing correcting the Merrill story, and then he was like, by the way, he's like, I said that thing about, hey, if you're doing it this way, kind of what Matt Friars has done. He's like, I hope you're doing it as hobbyist because there's no money in it. And he started telling me like, hey, like we make our money off ads. Like you should look at Dave and Jeff. They've made money off ads and blah blah blah. And I was thinking about this morning, and I was like, what's different about us from Matt Friars, from Dave and Jeff, from even the people that are starting a lot of these new YouTube channels is we are not hobbyists. We're not trying to be hobbyists. We're trying to take this seriously and replace all of the radio shows that are going off the air, and provide some of the coverage that we wish, like the Union Tribune would be doing. So the difference is that other people are like, I can only do this once a week. I need to make as much money off once a week as possible. And we're like, no, we're going to be here every day, providing you with content every single day. Like we're serious, and this is our jobs. And we hope that people appreciate that more than they do the people that are doing one show a week and running ads on it or whatever. So it's a different thing, and it's hard to compare us. And I think there was a little bit of confusion there where John was like, hey, I hope you're doing this as hobbyists. And it's like, no, if we were, we'd be doing this once a week and asking for a lot less money probably.
Yeah, yeah. So go to section1904.com, and John explained exactly, the name, and even yesterday I was talking to somebody who may be part of our creative process moving forward, and I was explaining what section 1904 means. I think people by now know this isn't named after a lower division soccer club, which you might have heard of from a couple of years ago. If you live where I live, and if you live anywhere in San Diego, it probably doesn't take you long to see the numbers 1904, but this is our section. Like we're all in the same section here, and our section is dedicated to San Diego. So that's what it's all about. And we're still trying to figure some things out. We're trying to develop a frequency and a rhythm to this, which is why we're doing this for the fourth consecutive day. We are going to go and record on Friday from Mason Ale Works, which is in Barrio Logan. It's on Logan Avenue. They open at 12 o'clock. So we're going to be there. I think we'll probably get there a little bit early, but if
Yeah.
anybody's making their way down to Petco Park or calling it a half a day or starting the weekend early, or if you have the half a day on Friday, the Padres come back home, they play the Colorado Rockies, and you can come. And I don't know what time we'll be there exactly. And I got a ton of prep work to do because I'm doing the SDFC Colorado Rapids game. And I really need to get into the Rapids roster here quickly. So I'll go. We'll have some lunch. Maybe have a couple cervezas from Mason, and I would recommend it highly. It's a great spot. You can take the trolley into downtown. You can take a walk. It's about a mile and a plus. Uber, real easy. Great little pre-post spot there on Logan Avenue. You mentioned the story. Did I get everything that we had to get? Yes. And also, if you do want to subscribe to this, which is where I started with section1904.com. We would love that. Right now, everything's on a trial basis.
Yep.
So, John and I are trying to figure out, like, is this the site that we're definitely going to go with? Is this the
The look.
vehicle for all this sort of stuff? So,
Yep.
it's we're learning on the fly as well. But if you do want to subscribe and support us, I did see a couple of names pop in there over the last 24 hours. I do appreciate you guys who have chimed in as well as we're just getting started. You mentioned quickly before I got to run out of here that there is a story at The Athletic or the New York Times. There's a Q&A with the Commissioner of Baseball, Rob Manfred.
Yes, I did. And he hits on so many things. And like, commissioner careers are so interesting to me. And Manfred's has been particularly interesting because when he started, he just seemed like a buffoon that was making all these sorts of terrible decisions and was scared to make changes. And then it was almost like he got empowered. He felt confident and he's instilled some change in baseball and he's made it better. And that has only encouraged him to push forward. But I encourage anyone who's interested in the future of baseball to read this. He talks about how he wants 2 expansion teams picked out and ready to go in the next 3 years. He talks a lot about national and international TV contracts in the next couple of years. He talks about a salary cap for Major League Baseball. And a lot of his ideas just seem to be looking at the NFL and NBA and what has worked for them and going, there's no reason that can't also work for us. And he explained some of the differences between them and the NFL in particular. But I just think he's being bold. He's being smart. He goes into kind of like in depth about the challenge system that might be coming in 2026 and why it also might not be coming in 2026 and why he prefers the challenge system and why the umpires don't like the challenge system and why the players don't like robot umps. Just wildly entertaining. I think the thing that blew my non-existent hair back the most was when he said he wanted 2 expansion teams that the cities picked out and then working on expansion teams by 2029. That was kind of surprising to me. What stood out for you?
Well, he did reference the Padres specifically.
He did.
He was asked a question about, the Q in the Q&A was, in the United States, if I sit down, I can watch any NFL game at home. How long until I can do that with baseball? Rob Manfred said, I think it will get done at the time of our next national broadcast agreements after the 2028 season. I was like, wait a second, what? We need to be out of the blackout business, which is essentially telling people that they want to watch games that we won't sell them to you. San Diego is a great example. We took over their local broadcasts. We sold tens of thousands of direct-to-consumer in-market packages. What does that tell you? There were tens of thousands of people who wanted to pay to watch baseball. And I thought to myself, like, what? Is that good? Is that a good thing? I don't know exactly how I'm supposed to interpret that. Rob Manfred seems to think it's a good thing that they have sold tens of thousands of direct-to-consumer in-market packages, even though I think when the math is penciled out, we've all determined that this has raised about $5 million
So that would
for the
be
Padres.
that'd be about 50,000 signups, right? That's tens of thousands.
I guess.
I just did the math on 10,000 times 100, and it came out to actually wait, no,
Is that
10,000
good?
times.
And
Yeah, it'd be
in
$1 million,
a
right?
county of 3.2 million people?
No,
Am I supposed to think that's good? Because he seems to think it's good, but maybe I'm not looking at it the right
I'm
way.
sure the Padres don't think it's good. Like I'm sure the Padres have ratings, TV ratings that they're holding that up against and going like, no, we used to have millions of people watching, so it's probably not great.
Yeah, I feel like if it was better, and maybe this is just being reductive, I wouldn't see Don Orsillo in this Aloha shirt on the selfie video as often as I did, because I would see an actual ad. I would see some actual production work there. But I might be wrong. I might be wrong about that. Maybe this is sort of a, hey, we had to do this on the fly. What did you really expect from us? But I don't know that tens of thousands of people. I don't know that anybody that I've ever spoken to with the Padres is particularly fired up about that. I
Well,
don't. As a
also,
matter of fact, it's sort of the opposite. That like nobody seems too fired up about whatever direct to consumer success Rob Manfred seems to be claiming in this story.
I don't know. Maybe you remember this number, but before the dissolution of I guess, Bally Sports San Diego at the end there. The Padres were making what from that deal? Like 6 million a year, 4 million a year, something like that,
Oh,
right?
like
It was
60 million a year.
oh,
They
60
had a
million a year.
$60 million a year contract. Yeah.
So
That was just
they
their local TV deal.
that's what the Padres were making, right? So even if they made $5 million off of Padres.TV, not all of that is going to the Padres, right? Chunk of that's got to go to MLB for production value and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question that nobody really answers. Like, who is paying the production costs on this? I feel like it's been written somewhere. Maybe Dennis Lin has written about it, but is the team paying the production costs? Because the production costs aren't cheap either.
Right.
Which is again why we joke about Don sitting in his dinghy out there recording his own commercials for the Aloha shirt giveaway. But it's not inexpensive. I'm not sure exactly how that works. There's a lot of things that are happening here that the public isn't privy to.
Yeah.
But all I can tell you is I don't know that nobody's really puffing their chests out about the success of the direct to consumer streaming success or numbers that the Padres TV thing is generating.
I also thought it was really funny that when he was talking about, and this is just a very San Diego specific thing, when he was talking about a potential salary cap for MLB, he was talking about evening the playing field between small market teams and big market teams because the big market teams are spending so much more than the small market teams, and the salary cap would even things out. And I'm like, San Diego is not a big market team. They're not making any of this TV revenue stuff, and they are still competitive in terms of overall payroll. So they're like, if Peter Seidler was alive, he would still be banging the drum of like, you don't need to be a big market team to compete in terms of payroll. Like, this is all free money, guys. And or some variation of that, I'm sure. And it's very funny to see him be like, yeah, the salary cap would be really beneficial to the small market teams that can't compete in terms of payroll. And it's like, well, San Diego's kind of proving otherwise. Before we get out of here, since we're kind of talking about the Padres, I have a stat that I saw today that I want to ask you about. The Padres bullpen has obviously been fantastic this year, right? Their collective ERA, I think, is 1.65. Robert Suarez, 6 of 6 in save opportunities to saves in the record book. Can you guess how many hits Robert Suarez has allowed in those 6 save opportunities?
Can I guess?
Guess. Or do you know?
I don't think it's many. Every time I see him, he seems to just be blowing the ball past.
ERA
people.
is 0.00.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's allowed a hit.
He has not. Does he get like a do we celebrate if he goes 9 innings without giving a hit? Is that like the
is that a no hitter?
Is that a no hitter?
Yeah, I'm gonna guess that's probably not. We're not gonna have a shirt giveaway over them.
We gave the Astros a no hitter with like 7 combined dudes against the Yankees like a decade ago. Let's give him a no hitter if he goes 9 innings.
I mean, it was actually in a game. They gave the Dodgers a no hitter in Monterrey, Mexico.
That's right.
They did it against the Padres as well. I have no issue with the combined no hitter, but
But Robert Suarez doing it over
feels
the course
to me
of 3
like
weeks.
this is early season baseball statistical boredom.
Oh, it definitely is. I thought that was impressive. Like 6 appearances without giving up a hit is incredible.
I think so, because I think if you go back to the tail end of last regular season, there was lots of suggestions out there that maybe Robert Suarez should lose his job as the closer, and that the Padres, had some viable replacements. So
our buddy H.J. Preller said often last year that Robert Suarez's fastball is not good enough to throw at every pitch, that he's not Mariano Rivera, and I think that turned out to be true. The percentage in which he throws his four-seamer has dropped from 70% to 48%, and all of that has gone to the changeup, which the changeup looks awesome. It's like a really awesome 91-mile-an-hour changeup. And that's just made him a less predictable pitcher and better. And I actually had the point this morning where I was like, should they try and extend Suarez? Like, he's really good. Probably not. But we can get out of here now. I just wanted to share that Suarez hadn't given up a hit.
He still does have, he's not, definitely a free agent. It's likely to be a free agent, especially if he continues at this kind of pace. But it's also April 10th. So I'm not super concerned about that one, but he's been good, man. He's been really, really good. All right. Also a great day because one of my favorite television shows returns tonight, season 4 of Hacks. on HBO on Max. Excited about that. Have you ever seen Hacks?
We're
Might
one
be
of
my
those.
favorite current TV show out there. I
That's
won't
the
put
one
it
with
into the
the
pantheon of all-time TV shows, but I would tell you that I'm open-minded to it. Only thing preventing me from doing that is, it's only season 4, and as we know, some of these series can take dramatic turns for the worse the longer they go on.
or for the better. I
Or
watched. I think the
it's hard
first.
to think it's going to get better, but you
Yeah.
maybe.
I think I watched the first 2 seasons of it, and then we lost HBO or Max for a while. I think I missed season 3, and now season 4 is coming back. So that's something I can try and catch up on because I liked it. I thought it was heartwarming and hysterically funny every time I watched it.
So good. Oh man, love this show. I love it so much. Super excited that it's back, although I won't be able to binge it because I think it's going to be one episode at a time, which is
Brutal.
a much more modern conundrum, just like some of the other things that we talked about modern sports fandom. All right, well, just something to think about. All of our intellectual and next level sports fans that we invite to join Section 1904. We're not going to give you a bunch of box scores here today, or any day for that matter. I think there's enough people that are telling you what happened in the box scores of the Padre game each and every day. We had a laugh at the Ethan Salas stuff because we talked about how his offense
I
doesn't
mean,
matter.
I
And he had a
texted
good
back
night.
to you. I texted back to you. It's like Austin Hedges did that in San Antonio too sometimes.
I'm rooting for the guy. I hope he does.
Me
I
too.
hope he does. But
Me too.
yeah. All right. So Mason Ailworks, we'll see you Friday. I'm off to SDFC training. I hope people enjoyed the Anibal Godoy interview. If you heard it, if not, I think it'll be available on demand on the iHeart app. So just want to give that a quick plug. And I'll do it again on Friday. Wow, that's like 5 straight days. This is a marathon for us if we go a 5th day.
But you
for
know
Mason
what?
Ailworks.
It's been like 2 weeks since we've podcasted in person, and we both prefer podcasting in person. So I'm really looking forward to next week or to tomorrow's show.
All right. We'll see you Friday here on Section 1904.